So, for the passé composé, there are three things we need to know to make the basic structure. They are going to be the subject, the auxiliary verb, and the past participle. For subject, it's going to be all the subjects we already know. We've got je, tu, il, elle, il, on, nous, vous. And the second thing we need to know is going to be the auxiliary verb. It's either going to be avoir or être. What is the auxiliary verb, you may ask? Stay tuned and you will find out. And the third part you need to know to make the passé composé is the past participle. This is a special conjugation of whatever kind of verb you want to use, and also keep that one in the back of your mind and we'll get back to it. There are two different auxiliary verbs in le passé composé, avoir and être. But how do you know which one to use? Well, let me tell you. The auxiliary verb you're going to be using most of the time is going to be avoir. And remember, you do always have to conjugate the auxiliary verb. Conveniently, we've got this fancy-dancy chart here. All the conjugations of avoir. J'ai, tu as, il a, elle a, il a, on a, nous avons, vous avez, ils and elles ont. That should help you remember. The second auxiliary verb is going to be être. This one is used a lot less frequently, but it is very important to know when it is used so that you can do it correctly. We're going to look at the fancy chart of être conjugations. Je suis, tu es, il est, elle est, il est, on est, nous sommes, vous êtes, and ils and elles sont. And now, I will tell you when you need to use être instead of avoir. So, you conjugated être, and now you want to know which verbs to use with it. Well, there are two different categories of verbs where you're going to want to use the word être. The first is going to be these 17 special verbs right here, contained in this handy-dandy mnemonic device. Dr. and Mrs. Vandertramp. If you just remember that and remember the words here, then you will know when you want to use être. So we've got devenir, revenir, monter, rester, sortir, venir, aller, naître, centre, entrer, entrer, tomber, retourner, arriver, monter, partir, and passer. There is a second category of verbs when you're going to want to use être as your auxiliary, which is going to be reflexives. I'll give you guys an example. I brush my teeth. And we're going to go. Now for the reflexive, you want to make sure that you put the reflexive before the auxiliary verb. So it's going to be je, ne, suis, brosse, les dents. I brush my teeth. Now you know how to use le passé composé. Oh, what's that? I hear you asking. What is this fancy little e with an accent on it? Well, that, my friends, I'm so glad you asked. It's called the past participle, and it is the third and final part of le passé composé. It is a special conjugation of the main verb, and when you combine it with an auxiliary verb, it lets you say things in past tense. Le passé composé. All verbs in French have one of three endings, and each of them has a different past participle form. For verbs ending in ER, such as aller, the ER gets changed to an E with the accent aigu. So aller becomes aller. For verbs ending in IR, the IR simply becomes an I. So parti becomes parti. The last verb ending is RE, which weirdly enough turns into a U. For instance, vendre turns into vendu. However, not all verbs follow these endings. As with all things French, there are also irregular verbs. One of the hardest things about le passé composé is remembering all of the irregular past participles. So to help you out, I made this list of some of the most common irregular verbs you might want to use in conversation. You got faire becomes fait, dire becomes dit, voir becomes vu, pouvoir becomes pu, écrit becomes écrite, boire becomes bu, manger becomes ment, construit becomes construite, and finally from my list we've got prendre, which becomes pris. Now, while we're here, one good study tip I have for you guys might help with memorizing your irregulars is to spend a little bit of time just reading through a list of irregular past participles and their infinitives and try to find the patterns between the verb endings and the spelling of the past participle. We've got comprendre and apprendre, both of which end in prendre. They are the exact same in the past participle. So then, comprendre is going to become compris, and apprendre is going to become appris. This is just one of the easy patterns to spot. There are a whole lot of others that definitely can help with memorizing as well. we learned so far? We learned the basic structure of le passé composé, subject, auxiliary verb, and then past participle. We learned what the two auxiliary verbs are, avoir and être, and when to use each of them. Être for the reflexive verbs and the Dr. and Mrs. Vandertramps, and avoir for all the rest. And we also covered some important irregular verbs to remember. To finish off, we're going to go over a few example sentences to show the passé composé in action. So our first sentence is going to be je vais au cinéma. To put it in the passé composé, first we need our subject, je. Now for our auxiliary verb, être, because aller is in fact Dr. and Mrs. Vandertramp conjugated. That's going to be je suis. Now for the past participle, ending of that is going to be the accent aigu over the e. Je suis allé au cinéma. Final sentence, we've got the dog drank from the toilet. This one was inspired by my own dog. She drinks out of the toilet. I love her. So the dog is going to be le chien. The main verb is going to be boire, which means our auxiliary verb is going to be avoir. So to conjugate avoir, it's just going to be en. And then the past participle of boire, which is in fact bu de la toilette. Like I said, inspired by my dog Sophie. She's very spoiled. She drinks out of the toilet. Thank you so much, everyone. I think that's going to be about it. Seems like you guys know all you need to know about le passé composé. So time to get out there and start saying some things in past tense.